We're talking with Cliff Schecter from We Act Radio on Hillary Clinton's testimony about Benghazi. Cliff, there was some fascinating reaction, not just from the Republicans, but also from Republican media. Here is Sean Hannity talking about Hillary Clinton's reaction under questioning. Listen.
I'm telling you, it was staged. Probably the direction of the raging Cajun James Carville himself or somebody else. This was all pre-planned. They've had 4 months. They knew this was coming, and this was their strategy. What?
They knew this was their strategy? Sean Hannity somehow knows what Hillary Clinton's strategy is?
The genius of Sean Hannity showing itself once again. They need someone to balance them out over there, David, like you, by the way, arguing with Sean Hannity. Somebody with a brain. I don't... Again, look, this is the right-wing conspiracy world. This is the world where Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell sent out emails that they're coming to take all your guns, which they just did. The UN's going to come in their black helicopters and pry away your antique gun. I mean, this is where everything's a conspiracy. The media's in on it. The Masons are in on it. I'm sure somewhere the Illuminati are in on it. I mean, I can't. Again, it's amazing that these people are taken at face value. That Sean Hannity's a legitimate, voice in our process. But I will say one thing: when Rand Paul, to go back to that, when they act like this was Hillary's strategy, and they act like they're going to fire her, and he tries to equate what happened in Libya to 9/11. I know on the actual 9/11, you were in the Pentagon risking your life that day. I was in downtown Manhattan. I saw the second plane hit. The insult to Americans who died on that day, the insult to all of us who lived through the Iraq War, the lies that were told while Condi Rice gets a new perch at CBS News. Where's Rand Paul questioning that? Whether we should be hearing from her? It's just, again, I can joke about it, and I will, because these people are cartoon characters, and yet they're angering too, because 9/11 was a terrible tragedy the Bush administration kept us from getting to the bottom of. This was a tragedy too. I'm not saying we need questions answered on what happened in Libya, but 4 Americans is really a little different than 3,000 Americans killed on a day in downtown Manhattan at the Pentagon and used as a pretext to invade Iraq, where thousands more have died.
And I think that's perhaps the greatest issue that I have with conservative media, making these references or repeating what Rand Paul says or talking about analogies to 9/11 or, to Adolf Hitler, whatever it is in the conservative media, and we've heard this from Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and others, is that it diminishes the historical significance of these events, that there's no way, that when you start to compare events to 9/11, when you compare what happened in Benghazi to what happened on 9/11, you diminish the historical significance of 9/11 and you start to water it down. And I think that's a very dangerous place to go. The other danger, Cliff, that I would argue that maybe is out there for Republicans is that when they listen to conservative media, Sean Hannity was out there promoting the idea that there was a video that the State Department had been watching the Benghazi assault in real time, and that was because one conservative commentator took what was a description of a phone call and then said, oh yeah, they were hearing about it in real time. Another conservative commentator decides to run with the story that this means that there was video, and all of a sudden it goes up and Sean Hannity's claiming, I know for a fact that there was video of this attack when no such video exists, and then Republicans who repeat this nonsense at the hearing look like idiots.
Yeah, and that's what happens. This has been the anatomy of the right going on 20 years. Longer. They've had the direct mail coming from the Birchers, back in the day in the 60s and 70s. But obviously in the internet age and the cable TV age, we all suffered through this in the 90s, where rumors and leaks about President Clinton became what must have happened and led to impeachment. And this is the way they've worked. They get these things that Vince Foster must have been killed. We all remember this, but it's worse now. If you going back into that hearing, Rand Paul was asking Hillary Clinton about guns being trafficked into Syria, arms, something that some right-wing blogger made some claim with no backing for it, or is it into Turkey, I think it was. And they run with these things, and there's no basis in reality. In the end, it's costing them election after election. But I do think the cultural degradation of this country, where people now believe these things, and people, with the NRA type appeals to people about, again, they're coming to take your guns. The same thing happens. Global warming is a hoax. Rape, we can shut that whole thing down. This is how these guys start believing, and then they say this. You've got Senate candidates say this in debates. And one quick thing. I'm sitting here in Ohio. The president of the Board of Education in this state, the 7th biggest state in the country, is someone that did exactly what you were just talking about, David, and put on her Facebook page something she found at a right-wing Facebook site that she didn't know was accurate, comparing what Obama did to Hitler and quoting Hitler on taking away people's arms. A, he never said what she claimed he said. B, she's belittling history when she does that. And you're the head of the Board of Education? My kid's supposed to be educated by someone But policies that you make when you can't even check the veracity of something and you're making comparisons like that, I mean, I would say to everybody, her name is Deb Terrar, call the Board of Education and get her to resign in this state if you're watching this in Ohio, because it sickens me, you know, that they can make that comparison, that they can do that. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and I suppose the only thing that you know, in addition to calling, we should all turn off these these radio stations and TV programs. May be entertaining, but they're dangerous. They're dangerous to all of us. Cliff Schecter,
listen to and watch David Shuster. If you don't understand what's going on in the world, you don't need Sean Hannity.
Cliff Schecter,
a much better hairdo than David Shuster.
Cliff, always a pleasure having you on Take Action News. Have a great weekend, my friend. Take care.
Thanks for having me on, David. Take care,
You're
buddy.
very welcome. Cliff Schecter from We Act Radio. You can follow him on Twitter at Cliff Schecter.